Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today we have a book unhaul. It's almost the end of the year, so I want to just get rid of a bunch of stuff that I don't want and like start the year better. It's not like a ton compared to like what I have, but I think it's a good chunk of books that like I know for sure I don't want to read, or I don't want to read anytime soon, or I did not like. Most of these books will probably go to the used bookstore in my area. I also have a Goodwill in my area, so those are probably the two places where these books are going. This pile of books is a combination of I have no interest and I read them and I don't care to keep them. There is one book that like I do want to read, but it's just like an extra copy, so that's pretty much what we have. I probably won't go into like tons of detail about the books that like I have no interest in because I don't care to know like anything about them. So I have a pile of mystery, thriller, suspense books that I don't want because I've already read. I have Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I hated this book with every aspect of my being. It is incredibly pretentious for me. It read super pretentious. This book is like a first year NYU film student dude bro whose favorite movies are like Joker, like Cannibal Holocaust, Fight Club. Like that's his vibe, that's his aesthetic, that's his personality. This book is like written by those people, written for those people. I hated this book so much. I have The Widow by Fiona Barton. I believe this is the first book in a series. Doesn't need to be a series, but this one was very basic. Husband may have committed a crime, the wife may or may not know about it, that kind of thing. The author also did this thing that I don't like in mystery thrillers, the way that some authors handle reveals. This author did that and I really don't like that. I have The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. I read one of her other books that I really enjoyed. It was called All the Missing Girls. I really loved how that story was told. It was like reverse chronological order and it was really interesting and cool, and this book was very boring and basic and dull. 3 stars. It's not bad, but it's just basic. This next one hurts to get rid of, but it is Dead Girls by Nekesa Afia. I had so much high hopes for this. It's set during the Harlem Renaissance. We follow some interesting characters, historical fiction. All that part was like fine, but the actual mystery part of the story was not good. I will still give the next book a chance. This is gonna be a series, and I believe this is the author's like debut, so definitely has like potential, but I didn't care for this book. I gave it like 2.5 stars. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, who I think is a fairly popular author now. I don't know if this was her debut, but this book, I didn't like the reveal personally, and it's also forgettable for me. The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. I actually really did like this book when it first came out. A lot of people did, a lot of people didn't. There's a film about it now. I enjoyed the book. If I want to experience the story again, I'll just watch the movie or borrow the audiobook. This author is like on a whole other level, and I really don't care to like reread this book ever again, to be honest. But yeah, that was fine. I just don't want it anymore. I have 2 like middle grade books that I read and don't want anymore. I have Deep Blue by Jennifer Donnelly. This is the first in like a mermaid series. I'm not sure if this is YA or middle grade. It kind of reads like middle grade or maybe very, very young YA. I really wanted to like this because I love like sea, nautical, like underwater fantasies, and this was not good. I thought the writing was very a little on the nose and like pretty like obvious as like to where the story was going, so it was kind of a disappointment. I thought I would continue with the series, so I got the second book, but like it's been a while since I've read the first book and I've just decided I don't care to continue on. I think sometimes you do need to take like a second away from the book, look back on it like a few months later and be like, did I enjoy it enough to continue? Probably not. So I'm getting rid of the second book, which was Rogue Wave. I also have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Really interesting premise, like cute pictures in the book, but this was really boring. Looking back on it, it was like pretty dull for such a unique premise, which is, I don't know how you do that, but he did it. And I also have the second book, which is Hollow City. Also, I know there's like a lot of drama within the book community like all the time, and like there's always like a villain of the week type of thing going on Twitter, but I think we moved past the whole like NFT to children thing a little too quickly. Like for me personally, like that was like mad weird. Like like really weird. Another book that I read and I had no interest to continue reading is Splintered by A.J. Howard, or A.G. Howard, excuse me. This is like an Alice in Wonderland retelling. And then I have the second and third book, which is Unhinged and Ensnared. I read this like trying to be really optimistic. It's an Alice in Wonderland retelling, urban fantasy, that type of thing. Something about this book unlocked like middle grade awkward cringy era in me. I can't really explain it other than like the way that the main character saw herself and like the people around her. Just it gave me middle school vibes, like my middle school era vibes. And I feel like middle school, at least in the States, we all had like a similar awkward vibe, and that's what I got from these books. This author does do like a lot of like fairy tale like reimaginings and retellings, and I do have like a what's it called, Phantom of the Opera retelling that she did. I'm keeping that one, but I don't care for these books at all. This next book I read and I no longer want either, and that's The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. I did actually like this book. I read this around the same time that I read Moxie by the woman who wrote Moxie. I forgot her name, Jennifer Matthew or something. I thought this was like a way better like YA feminist type book. I thought this one was a little more inclusionary, I suppose, but like it was still like a 3-star read. But if you are looking for like angry teen girls like doing something about the community that they're in, this is a super like fine book for that. But I read it, it was fine. I'm moving on, don't need it on my shelves. So those are all the books that I've read, or at least read the first in the series, and I just like don't want anymore. So that's a couple out of the way. I have the first 6 books in the Artemis Fowl series by, I think it's pronounced Ian Colfer. Ooh, I have no interest in this series whatsoever. I don't even want to see like the Disney movie, even though that's probably a bad adaptation too. Like I don't care. I don't even know where I got these. I just have all of them. So they're going to a child who probably wants them more than I do. So I have 2 Emily Henry books that I have no interest in. I read her People We Meet on Vacation, which I know is an adult book, and these are YA, but like something about that book really put me like in a bad mood, and I don't want to read from her like for a while. So I'm gonna get rid of The Love That Split the World and A Million Junes. I'm assuming these are both romances and YA romances on top of that, and they kind of have like a magical realism look to them, so that's like 3 strikes. I don't want to read that. I have Vast in the Night by Sarah Porter. I've tried reading this like twice and I hate the writing. It feels kind of like whimsy and like decorative at times, and I didn't like that, so we're getting rid of it. I have Spindlefire by Lexa Hillier. I believe this is like a Sleeping Beauty retelling. I'm not a Disney girl. I don't care for Sleeping Beauty, so we're getting rid of this. I also have The Fallen and Leviathan by Thomas E. Sniegoski. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I'm sorry. I believe this is a bind up of the first 2 books. I don't know what this is about. Fallen Angels, I guess. I think I've had this on my shelf since like middle school, so don't want to read it. The Enemy by Charles Higson. I don't know what this is about. It looks like a horror sci-fi YA novel. I don't know what this is about. I didn't even know I had this on my shelves. It does have nice sprayed edges though. I'm not sure if this is YA, but this is David by Mary Hoffman. This is historical fiction, and I believe we follow like the brother of Michelangelo, who is also the inspiration for the statue of David. I don't know. I do actually want to read this next book, but I had an extra copy of Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Really pretty. It's an extra copy. I don't need it. I have 2 fantasy-esque books. I have Wicked by Gregory Maguire. I'm not a Wicked person. That's like not me, so bye. I also have Spy Master by Margaret Weiss and Robert Crames. I actually really wanted to read this, and I thought the cover looked amazing, but it's like the first book in a series following another series, and I would rather read that series first, but I probably have to get it online because my bookstores here don't have it, and I'm like not pressed enough to get them right now, so this is gonna go. But it looks like dragons and then like pirates, which I love. I have a few historical fiction books that I don't want to read. I have Last Christmas in Paris by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb. I think I got this in a Goodreads like giveaway. I don't even know why I signed up. I'm so sorry, but someone else will read this, I'm sure. I have The Balm by Dolene Perkins Valdez. This is a post Civil War book. I think it takes place in the North. It's about some people trying to like get their lives back together after the Civil War. I don't have interest in that. I have The Wife, the Maid and Mistress by Ariel Lawhen. I believe this is 1920s, 1930s. A judge goes missing, and the three women most close to him, wife, maid, and mistress, all have information on where he went. Not super interested. I feel like this leans more into the historical fiction as opposed to like the missing crime thing, which I don't want to read that. So there was a like horror novel book subscription that I used to like subscribe to, but I stopped because money, and also like their selection was like boring and not interesting to me. So I have a few books from them that I don't want to read. They're horror novels, which I want to read more horror, but these all seems pretty boring. I have The Brother of the Wheel by R.S. Belcher. There's trucks on the cover. It says urban fantasy exploring haunted truck stops. Like, that's not my vibe. I also have Entropy in Bloom by Jeremy Roberts Johnson, which is a short story collection of horror stories by this author. I've never heard of this author, and I don't want to read short stories by someone that I don't know or have never been recommended by. I also have After Party by Daryl Gregory. This has to do with like drugs and like designer drugs in the future, and like how like everyone has access to them. That doesn't intrigue me. Like drug horror, I don't know, not my thing. I have The Curse of Jacob Tracy by Holly Messenger. I believe this takes place in the West, like the Wild West, and we follow someone like a ghost hunter in the American West. So that kind of sounds interesting, but it's not really calling out to me personally. Medusa's Web by Tim Powers. I believe this takes place in Hollywood occult stuff, which I don't know what else to say, but I have like no interest in like most of these books. So I also have Fantastic Land by Mike Bakoven. Don't care for this. The Deadlands by Benjamin Percy. Again, these were all books given through a subscription service, and they didn't seem like interesting choices. And the last book I have is Invasive by Chuck Wendig. I am interested in reading some of his work, just not this one. There's ants on the cover, and if there's bugs, that doesn't interest me that much either. So yeah, those are all the books that I'm getting rid of this year. Again, not a lot compared to what I have, but these are pretty like sure decisions. Like, I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna get rid of all of these. But if you have any thoughts on any of these books, if you've read them before, I'd like to hear your thoughts, whether they're worth it or not, or maybe I introduce some gems that you've never heard of that maybe you're interested in. I don't know. Just talk to me in the comments down below. No offense if I'm throwing away they're getting donated. No offense if I'm getting rid of like a book that you really enjoy. Just they're not calling out to me. I'm in like a fantasy mood like always, and I'm mostly reading books from Kindle Unlimited and my library anyways. So thank you so much for watching. I will link all my socials down below, as well as some far more important links. Feel free to like, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.